Hey guys, today I wanted to make a video surrounding hip dips. I have hip dips myself. Basically, hip dips happen when there is a large space between kind of the top of your hip and where your leg bone attaches to the hip. And in between there is pretty much nothing there. There is one very small muscle that basically just functions to, keep these two bones together. Since there is so much space here, the tissue in between tends to kind of sink in almost and create what we know as hip dips or violin hips. And it basically looks like just an indentation on the side of your bum. Basically, it is completely normal to have. It is completely natural. It's completely healthy. There's nothing wrong with your body if you have it. It's literally just the shape of your bones. Very many people have it to varying degrees. Obviously, it's a sliding scale when it comes to bone size and things like that. Some people have very prominent hip dips. Some people have them just slightly. And basically, you just don't have that round butt shape. There is an indent on the sides. Now, like I mentioned, this is not something you need to worry about on the medical side of things. And how you feel about them on the aesthetic side of things is all up to you. I know some people don't mind them at all. I honestly can't say I mind them too much. They're just, a body part like all other body parts, and they're there. I know some people actually really like the look of them, but I also know some people feel really insecure about theirs. The popular body shape at the moment is a very pronounced hourglass with an emphasis on very wide hips. That is kind of the body shape that is trendy at the moment, and violin hips are pretty far away from that. Having hip dips or violin hips is definitely not something you should feel insecure about, but if you do feel insecure about it, that is absolutely okay as well. Don't let anybody tell you how to feel about your body. We all have days where we feel more or less secure about the way our body looks. So for all of you ladies who do sometimes feel a little bit insecure about their hip dips maybe, or would just like to know a couple of ways that you can make them look less prominent by dressing a certain way, because they are pretty easy to hide if you would wish to do so, have a few tips that can help. All this, of course, is going to depend on the rest of your body shape as well. These are things that I have found from my personal experience, so if your body type is similar to mine, then you might find these really helpful. Some of these are universally applicable, some of these might not work for you depending on, your body shape. But the number one thing I try to adhere to when it comes to, the most flattering things for my body shape is to wear a high waist. For me personally, there is quite a bit of a difference between my waist and the top of my hips. My waist is around here, and then the top of my hips already starts right there. Below that, it's pretty much just a straight line. So what works best for me is if I accentuate my waist and then wear something that kind of widens out. And that way it just makes my lower body look a bit more traditionally hourglassy, I guess. So when I wear jeans, I have found that high waist looks best on me, and I will touch upon other items of clothing later, but the whole waist cinching is gonna come back a few times. Speaking of jeans, I have found that high waist is not just the most flattering, but also the most practical for me. I don't know about any of you guys, but for me, when I wear jeans that sit on the kind of widest point of my hips or just below it, they tend to drop down. Below that widest point is just a flat line going down or even an indent. So my jeans tend to fall down, and I end up yanking them up by the little belt loops, and that is why literally all of my non-high-waisted jeans have tears underneath the belt loops. I just have to pull them up all the time because they tend to slide down. So if my jeans sit a little bit higher, they're just more comfortable for me to wear. I don't have to worry about them sliding down my hips. Also, speaking of jeans, I have found that heavier weight, kind of firmer fabric jeans work a little bit better with, again, the shape of my hips and bum. The weight of the fabric will help not cling to my body as much and kind of smooth over that hip dip. So you can see a side-by-side comparison here where I'm wearing thinner, more skin-tight jeans versus jeans that are a little bit wider and of a heavier, thicker fabric. It's not a massive difference. I do feel like my hip dips are more pronounced on the one side and the whole thing just looks a little bit smoother on the other side. So sticking to bottoms still, I often feel like jeans or trousers or just bottoms with a little bit of a wider leg often help, again, make the hip dips look less prominent because they are not hugging the gaps as much, not hugging the bum as much. I feel like wide leg trousers look really flattering on me, and I especially like them when they are, again, made of a thicker fabric that will just kind of smooth over the area a little bit better. Skirts are my best friend when it comes to body flattering shapes, because an A-line skirt has all the abilities that I just described. It will hug you at the waist, and then it will come down into a wider shape. Nothing that's going on below that will really show. A-line skirts are my absolute favorite to wear, and as with everything, more structured pieces made of a thicker fabric work a little bit better than very thin and kind of slippery fabrics. Although thinner fabrics can work great as well. I have, for example, 2 wrap dresses that are super flattering because again they have that cinch at the waist and the waistline is really accentuated, and then from there they just kind of go straight down or a little bit out. And again, they help to continue that shape from the widest point of your hips down. So kind of keeping with the same theme of cinching the waist and then going from the widest point of the hips down. Peplum tops. They are pretty hard to come by right now because they are not really trendy per se, but if you have a few from some years ago when they were super trendy, hang on to them because peplum tops are amazing at making your hips look a little bit wider. I love wearing a peplum top if I'm wearing something more skin tight and form hugging underneath. It just helps again give the illusion of more hourglassy figure. And I feel like these are just super flattering for many body shapes in general. If you do want to wear items that are more skin tight and hug your body a little bit more, but you do want to make your hip dips look a little bit less prominent, I would advise you again to choose a thicker fabric and a more structured piece. Here you can see a side-by-side of me wearing 2 bodycon dresses, whereas one is of a very thin, just jersey cotton material and the other is of a much thicker fabric, and you can tell the difference. The thicker fabric just kind of smooths out my figure a little bit more, whereas the thinner fabric makes the hip dips just look more prominent than the thicker fabric does. So if a smoother, more hourglassy figure is something you're going for, then you might want to consider getting a bodycon dress in a thicker fabric that will kind of help shape you into that body shape a little bit more. Alright, so those are the tips that I have for dressing with hip dips. I do just want to stress one more time, you do not need to be ashamed of your hip dips. They don't need to be hidden. I think of all of this the same way that I feel about makeup. It's fun to experiment with body shapes, it's fun to experiment with different looks, but it's not something you need. And it's definitely not something that determines your worth as a person. So please keep that in mind. I really hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, don't forget to give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for loads more beauty and lifestyle content. If you'd like to support me through Patreon or my merch store, there will be links in the description box below. Thank you so much for your support. There's another video here that I think you might also enjoy. You can go watch next. Thank you for watching and I'll see you very soon in my next video. Bye!